Hi, this video looks at race as technology and the paradox of liberalism from Falguni Sheth's 2009 book, Towards a Political Philosophy of Race. My name is Sabah Fatma, and I'm a professor of philosophy at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. What is race, according to Sheth? Sheth argues that treating race as a biological category ignores the fluidity of how race actually functions in politics and in law. And to talk about it just as a social construct ignores more interesting questions about the role of power, about who constructed it, why, and how are they doing it, for what purpose. For Sheth, race is a kind of technology used by those in power to manage populations they see as unruly. They do this through racialization. What does it mean to call race technology? Think of race as a set of strategies and tactics for organizing society and maintaining particular relations of power. In a way, it's like an algorithm. It has certain inputs like your race, your ethnicity, your immigration status, your socioeconomic condition, and the algorithm tells the state who lives where, who gets access to what, how the state ought to act towards this person, that person, and what life options are available to them. Sheth identifies three dimensions of race as technology. One, singling out and taming unruly features, features that deem a population threatening and in need of disciplining. Two, doing this taming through official or seemingly neutral procedures. And three, the sovereign power's ability to racialize new groups whenever it serves its interests. As an example, we can look at the stop and frisk era in 2000s in New York City. During the stop and frisk era, the bodies of Black and brown New Yorkers in public spaces were framed as inherently suspicious. The police, that is the liberal state's coercive arm, were deployed massively against them. The freedom and the security of the general population depended on the suspension of the Fourth Amendment protections for a targeted racial group. The policy was defended using the language of liberal neutrality. Legally, it was based on Terry versus Ohio, which allowed stops based on reasonable suspicion. But in practice, this seemingly neutral standard was applied in a highly racialized and non neutral ways. The law becomes the technology for making and managing a racialized population. To understand how policies like stop and frisk can claim neutrality while producing racialized control, we need to look at the broader political worldview that makes this possible. That is, liberalism. So, what does Sheth mean by liberalism? She's referring to the dominant political worldview grounded in rule of law, proceduralism, democratic institution, a public-private split, neoliberal capitalism, low welfare, free markets, low taxes, and a professed tolerance of diversity. What is the function of the state? The function of the state is to preserve its own power and, by extension, the basic assumptions of liberalism. So, for Sheth, here's the paradox at the heart of liberalism. Liberalism claims to be grounded in justice and universal rights and equality, but in practice, it systematically excludes certain groups from those rights. How does the state reconcile this contradiction? It creates exceptions. It invents categories of people, the unruly, the dangerous, the pariah population, who can be controlled and excluded or denied rights in order to maintain the illusion of universal freedom. This process allows the state to preserve social and political hierarchies while claiming neutrality and fairness. In summary, in Sheth's framework, race is a tool produced by the sovereign for its own interests. The state then uses this tool through law, bureaucracy, and sometimes violence to justify its authority. Many of you may say, well, we currently exist in a time where the illusion of neutrality is gone out the window. Sheth might say, well, that might be true that the illusion of neutrality has slipped, but we were always here, just with a better mask. Wishing radical care for our communities and solidarity in our shared struggles.